Now, the neoliberals' belief that Pete Buttigieg could have done nothing and still can do nothing is a complete and utter lie. It's not a fib, it's not a fabrication. Read my lips. I said it is an absolute lie. Underscore it, bold it, underline it, put it in a message in a bottle on a train, not loaded with chemicals that can derail and then derail people's livelihoods in the process of derailing. I said it, it is an absolute lie. Pete Buttigieg's department has not moved to reinstate Obama-era rail safety rule aimed at expanding the use of better braking technology, even though a former federal safety official recently warned Congress that without the better brakes, there will be more derailments and more releases of hazardous materials. So Lance, I just jump in. I mean, maybe it's me. I would love to know your thoughts on the point that the Secretary of Transportation, one, has nothing to do with this, and then two, is just some helpless citizen in the United States of America with no power at all.
I mean, you're perfectly on point. I think there's no question that the right is moving and marching towards fascism in a lot of ways, and it's definitely frightening. But both parties, unquestionably, seem to be in the hands of corporations. This is an issue where the workers, first off, were saying that this is something that they need to have addressed immediately. The company itself is doing almost $10 billion in stock buybacks. They have the money to pay for this thing. Apparently, it would cost about 2 weeks worth of profits for them to upgrade all the braking systems on trains. And yes, it's disgusting and deplorable that the Trump administration removed the safety measures for that braking system, but you did reinstate it when you had the power to do so, which now falls upon you. And again, this is one of those things like it's straight out of a horror movie. The citizens of Ohio, at first, because the mainstream media wasn't reporting on this for so long, reporting that their chickens are dying and fish are dying in the water, and no one knows what's happening because of this massive chemical spill. It's absolutely disgusting that people are trying to turn this into partisan politics when everyone is to blame, and ultimately it's because the corporate Democrats, like the corporate Republicans, are in the pockets of, surprise, surprise, corporations.
There it is, Lance. The owner-donors continue to win out, even with such suffering that is vivid. I mean, everybody can see what is happening in East Palestine, Ohio. Another point, the Department of Transportation most recent regulatory agenda, which lists all planned, proposed, and final rules, guess what? Does not include ECP brake rule. So the point that Lance and I are making, even if you are in that camp of don't blame the transportation secretary, he had nothing to do with this. Okay, but he can do something to make a difference in this moment. He is not powerless in this particular moment. And you know what? Just as the Trump administration rolled back the rules, the Biden administration can reinstate those rules. Hello, it's called new administration with that power to do something about this situation. But instead, you got folks like this Brian dude making excuses for the Secretary of Transportation's inaction on this. It's wrong, absolutely wrong. And then hello somebody, let's go ahead and put up this tweet from Philip Lewis. Before the Norfolk Southern train derailment prompted emergency evacuations in Ohio, the company helped kill a federal safety rule aimed at upgrading the rail industry's Civil War era braking system. Now wrap your mind around that for a minute. Let that marinate around you for a minute. Helpless? I don't think so. Now, this transportation secretary and President Joe Biden were so quick to side with the rail barons. I'm sure many of you are old enough to remember that. They screwed over rail workers who warned of this exact problem as they fought for the right to have paid sick leave. Yeah, messed them over. Them and the 117th Congress, with the exception of a handful of folks who voted against that. Yet it's taken them literally 2 years and counting, and they still refuse to hold these rail companies accountable. I wonder why. There was another train derailment in Houston, and guess what? Residents of East Palestine and Ohio as a whole are still dealing with these consequences. So they had that derailment and we still got trouble. Take a look at this. Breaking, here's this dude again. A Union Pacific train has derailed after hitting a truck in Houston, Texas area. Some hazardous materials were being carried by this train. Note to Republicans, this one isn't Pete Buttigieg's fault either. Are you kidding me? And this dude had a check mark too. I mean, he should know better. Now, David Sirota of The Lever, shout out to The Lever for staying on top of this story, baby. They've been hammering this story. Shout out to them. Go ahead and let's put up what David Sirota had to say. Liberals are now announcing massive disasters in real time and preemptively insisting the chief regulator shouldn't be held accountable. Lance, I feel like we're in a horror film, but this is happening right now.
Is Brian Krasenstein getting paychecks for PR for Pete Buttigieg? What is going on here? Both Republicans and the Democrats can't keep pretending like they are the party of workers when they don't listen to workers and when they keep screwing over workers. And this is one of those situations where the people whose jobs it is to transport our goods, and obviously they want to be safe as well, are telling you the braking system in some of these trains date back to the Civil War era. That is absolutely disgusting that we would allow this to come to pass and then afterwards be like, well, it's the Republicans' fault, it's the Democrats' fault. Everyone's playing the blame game. It's everyone's fault in this case. There are multiple people who are to blame, but ultimately, let's not take away the narrative that this is, again, a corporation that is putting profits over people. That's ultimately what's happening here.
That is, it really is as simple as that. It is not complicated at all, Lance, and I'm breaking this down for you. And you know my stunt double had to get in on this action. Let's take a look at what she had to say. I do not care who the Secretary of Transportation is. God knows I don't care. I do care about the people of East Palestine, Ohio. I care that Norfolk Sutherland is held accountable. I care that regulations are put in place to avoid further disasters. I mean, America. It doesn't get, it's more simple than that. Now, Lance and I laid it out for you. This is not complicated. It's not rocket science at all. It is really simple. When corporations mess up, they need to be held accountable. Government should come to the rescue of its people. And it doesn't matter who is in charge of that government. It can be a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, somebody that's a little country rock and roll. Don't matter to me. A little rap, a little blues, a little jazz, a little R&B, baby, they don't matter to me how you roll. If you are in charge and you have the power, you must come to the rescue of the people. They don't deserve this. They deserve better than this. And all they get is all these neoliberals making excuses and Republicans jumping on an opportunity to one up the Democratic Party. Hell, the Republicans could be saying, let's help the people, but oh no, that would be just too much for the corporatist wing of both of these parties to do.